You're listening to the Studyclix Podcast, your number one source for junior cycle and Leaving Cert tips. We make exams easier. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Studyclix Podcast. You're listening to Nessa, a voice you might not have heard on the Studyclix Podcast in a while, but I'm back for this special interview episode all about the CAO Leaving Cert Results and CAO Offers. And today I am joined by a co-host that you might recognise his voice from more recent episodes, Luke. Hi, Luke.
Yeah. Hi, Nessa. Yeah, a co-host that you're probably sick of hearing at this point.
Myself and Luke today, this subject that we're talking about, we don't have the most knowledge on, so we decided to get an expert on. Today we are joined by Donnchadh O'Mahony, who you might know from TikTok and Instagram as Leaving Cert Guidance. He's also the host of his own podcast, Leaving Cert Guidance Podcast. And he's a secondary school guidance counsellor, and he basically knows everything about the CAO. Would that be fair to say, Donnchadh, that you're an expert on the CAO?
Well, I think when you do it day in and day out for the last number of years, you do get a good grasp of it.
So yeah, basically we recorded this episode ahead of Leaving Cert results coming out very soon, and it can be a tricky thing because they're like the Leaving Cert and the CAO are actually two different entities, and there's so many different aspects to it that some of these students have questions on. So we'll just get stuck into it, Donnchadh.
Yep.
I think so people will be listening to this maybe ahead of their Leaving Cert results and they're feeling quite nervous or worried. Like, what is your advice just generally for people who are kind of feeling the nerves right now?
Yeah, it's a tough one because, it's so unexpected. You don't know what's coming down the line for you. But there's nothing you can do at this stage. There's no point in worrying. You've done your Leaving Cert. You've filled out your CEO choices or your PLCs or whatever it is you're applying for. So the only thing we can do now is wait and see what happens on the 22nd of August will be D-Day, so at 10 a.m. So that's the big one. There's no point in worrying at this stage. But if you feel like something was an absolute disaster or you feel like it hasn't gone well, start looking at a few maybe different options that we'll talk about later on and just kind of investigate them and see, would this be a runner for me? Oh, I hadn't looked at this before. It's actually way more interesting than I thought. So have a little investigation over the summer and then that might put you at ease a little bit.
You said there, Donnchadh, that D-Day is the 22nd of August. I think a lot of students as well will be a little bit nervous about what they actually have to do that day, not about just the results that they're going to get, but also how to access them. So I know it kind of changes all the time and it kind of differs from school to school, I think, sometimes. I'm not really sure at all. It's kind of changed since my day. But what is the process on the day of getting your Leaving Cert results?
Well, you're absolutely right because it has changed dramatically in the last number of years how you access your results. It was kind of a rite of passage where you'd go into your school and physically pick up your results. Some people loved it because they met their friends and got the results and celebrated with them. Some people hated it because it can be very private and personal. So I think this is probably better. Now, the reason it's all online and it's changed is because you used to get the results a lot earlier in August, but now you're during school time. So with the inflated grades, that made the whole system a bit longer. So that's why it's gone out as far as the end of August. So I think it works out better for a number of reasons. But as you were saying, Luke, how do you access that? Well, you'll need your exam number and you'll need your candidate self-service portal password. So in early academic year, October, and maybe February for some people, you were able to go on and set up your candidate self-service portal account. You were able to tick what levels you were doing, make sure your subjects were right, all of those things. Now, if you didn't get a chance to do that, if you completely forgot, if it slipped your mind, whatever the case may be, you can do it the week leading up to the Leaving Cert results. It will open for 1 week for people either to register on the candidate self-service portal or for people to check out their password to make sure it's still working. And if it's not working, there's a forget your password button. So just so you're not 10 o'clock, 22nd of August, you're like, oh, geez, what was my password? Now I have to go in to my emails and figure out what is and change all that. So it's a bit of a disaster. So you can do all that in the lead up to it. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, why is the candidate self-service portal so important? Because now it does completely everything. So you get your results on the candidate self-service portal. You can see the component marks for all your exams on the candidate self-service portal. You can apply to view your scripts. You can make an appeal, check your appeal results, all on this portal. So it's important that you know what it does, number one, and that you have access to it for the day coming up.
You mentioned the appeals and the scripts there, and I think that's probably a question that on the day of, like, no doubt there will be people who get their Leaving Cert results and they'll want to look at the scripts or they want to appeal. So you mentioned the portal there, but what is the process for looking at the scripts and then appealing them if you want to?
Yes, the whole thing will start off with your component marks. So you'll get the marks for each subject that you've taken. So there'll be marks for the project, maybe there's an oral, whatever parts of the exam you've done. And you can, so you'll get the marks for that. You won't get the percentage, but you can calculate the percentage yourself. And you can maybe see how far off you were to the next grade. Was it H1 or H2? God, I wasn't that far away from H3. I might view that script and see what the story was with it. And then you can apply to view your scripts. So there's two ways you can view your scripts. One of them is online. So if your scripts were corrected online, you'll view them online. But if they were hand corrected, you have to go into the school and look at it. Now, luckily, the majority of subjects were corrected online. All right. So you can look at them in the comfort of your own home. It comes as a PDF. You can download the PDF. You could even send it to a teacher or a friend or a grinds teacher or whatever to get them to have a look at it and see what the story was. So when you're viewing them, really have a good look to see, have you lost marks anywhere? I don't think I'd be doing a recheck for no reason, just chancing your arm, because it costs money to do a recheck. So if you really feel like, God, I lost marks there and I shouldn't have lost marks there, then I'd say absolutely go for a recheck. And now the last number of years, there's been good percentage of grades gone up. So in 2023, it was 23%. 2022 was 20% of rechecks went up. So if your grade goes up, you will get your money back.
Nice.
Now, it can go down. Your grade can go down as well, but that rarely ever happens. I think last couple of years, you're talking 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people out of 11 to 18,000, their grades might have gone down. So after you view your script and you feel like you lost marks somewhere, you can make an appeal to have that subject remarked. And then on the 26th of September, the results from that appeal will come out.
I find the appeals process so interesting. I think especially because people are so in two minds because they have this kind of fear that it'll go down and that they've actually like shot themselves in the foot by even getting it appealed. Would you say that it's a good idea? I know you said now that it's a little bit later on in this in the month of August that the schools are back and teachers will be back in school. Would it be a good idea in that scenario to go through your paper with your teacher? Is that possible? Should you consult your teacher before appealing because they might have a better kind of grasp of if it's something that could go up? They might be an examiner themselves or something.
So the only issue with that is you view them on the Saturday and you have to make your appeal by the Sunday. So whether you'll have access to your teacher, it won't be during school time really. So it
Okay.
might be tough to access them. And I think, could be wrong, it might be on the same weekend as electric picnic. So depending how old your
No.
teacher is,
The student teachers are going to be,
yeah,
the fresh out of
you
college teachers are going to be
you
Nowhere
might
to
non-contactable.
be
not get
found.
them on that Saturday, Sunday. So
Okay.
it might be hard to get them, but some of them might be very willing. They might for themselves say, yeah, look, pop me over an email, send that, I'll have a quick look at it, see if there's any glaring mistakes and see if you should have gone up somewhere. Some teachers are happy to do that. Some teachers are like, that's my time with my family or whatever, I just won't get the chance to do it. And you have to respect that too. But there might
Yeah.
be someone who could look at it with you. Maybe they did that subject before, maybe they know it in and out, maybe it's a grinds teacher, whatever, and you can have a look at it with them. But yeah, if you can get your teacher, great. But if not, you have to kind of understand that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's great that you can view the scripts for free. I remember doing that. Like I got all like my scripts. I just wanted like I had no intention. I was happy with my results. I had no intention of like getting an appeal. I was just nosy. I couldn't let it go. It was fun. If anyone's like me and just wants to do that, I'd recommend, or otherwise just move on with your life as you should.
Yeah, no, I was curious too, and even to get that PDF that you can keep and maybe give to a sister or brother. Look, I did really well in this exam. Here's my exam, what it looked like. Why not?
Yeah, why
Yeah, the
not?
option of the PDF is great now. Like that,
Yeah.
I think before you had to just physically look at the paper. You couldn't take it with you or anything, could you?
No,
You
you
had to just
couldn't. No.
okay.
Yeah, the pandemic really kind of accelerated like the
Technology,
technology.
yeah.
Everything was paper for about 30 years and
Yeah.
then it like just changed. Well, move on then to so a couple of days after you get the Leaving Cert results, the CAO offers come out. So this is kind of say your Roman Empire, you know everything about the CAO. What is like the most common question you get around on the day that the CAO offers come out?
So there's a couple. So it comes out on the 27th of August. So it's a little bit of a wait. You've about 5 days to wait there. So it's a little bit of a wait. Um, the first question I would get asked most is, so they come out at 2 o'clock. Some people might get an email or log onto their account and they've got the results or their offer at 20 past 1. And then I might get a message from someone, my friends have got an offer, but I haven't got an offer yet. You just have to hold off. Officially, it's 2 o'clock. If your friend gets it a
Mm.
bit earlier, but officially it's 2. You'll generally have it by 2 o'clock. But even if you wait till about 20 past, if you really haven't got it, and then you can contact the CEO or see what happens. And then some people might say, next question might be, look, I got the points. Why haven't I got an offer? And it could be a number of different reasons. It could be you didn't meet the entry criteria. A lot of people, it could be course criteria. You have to have a H4 in Irish, and maybe you got a H5, but you didn't realize you needed a H4, whatever the case may be. So entry criteria, course criteria, could be random selection, which is so unfortunate. You know, if it's a little star beside the points, where not everybody who got these points was offered the place.
Oh God.
So there could be a number of different reasons why you didn't get a place. And a lot of people would ask, will I get another offer? So look, I've got this offer in round 1, but it's not what I really want. Will I get something else in round 2? You might not. About 1 in 50 CAO applicants get a second round offer. So it's about 98%
Right.
of course places are filled in the first round. So
Mm.
yes, it happens, but I wouldn't be banking on it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I actually was one of those people. I remember I was very happy with my CAO, and then like that, I think there was a week or about that, and I kind of thought in my head I had enough points because I would have any other year, and it was just the way it went. I didn't get my first offer. I actually didn't get my second or my third. I ended up getting my fourth round offer or fourth place offer, and I ended up getting my second choice then about when the second round of offers came out. I actually want to ask you a little bit about that because I don't really understand how it works.
Yeah.
Like I just got it and I was like, how did I get this? I didn't end up taking it, but I really did consider um rejecting the initial offer because I just didn't want to go there. Ended up studying there for 4 years and loved it. But at the time I was like, nope, not going. And I held on to it, which was I suppose the safer option. Would you say that to people if they get any offer they should hold on to it because it's not as likely?
100%.
Yeah.
So your first round offer might be the only offer you get.
Mm.
So you were thinking about rejecting it as your guidance counselor. I said, don't reject it, accept it, and see what happens in subsequent rounds. But more often than not, Luke, your story is very common, where someone really doesn't want to go somewhere, they end up going and loving it and meeting great friends and things like that.
Yeah.
So test the untested, I suppose. It's a really good way to look at it. But yes, I would say accept first round offer and then see what happens in subsequent rounds. So there are 5 rounds. And you were going to say to me, well, how does that work out? So let's say, for example, you've applied for a college course that has 50 places and 200 people apply for those 50 places. What the CEO will do is rank those 200 from 1 down to 200 based on points and if they meet the entry criteria. So we will get the first 50 people on that list will get a place, will get offered a place. And then you'll have a deadline. I think it's 2nd of September this year. You'll get a deadline where you have to accept that offer by. Now, let's say 47 out of the 50 accepted by that deadline. Maybe 1 or 2, like you, didn't want the course and decided to reject it. Maybe they missed the deadline. Maybe they want to defer, whatever the case may be. And then the university will instruct the CEO to go to the next 3 places on the list in round 2. So they'll look at place 51, 52, and 53 in that order of merit list. And in round 2, they will offer it to those 3 people. And then, so the cutoff, the last person who got a place on the course, that's what the points are that you see. So that means the last person who got a place on that course, that's the points they got. All right. So you will never know what the points are beforehand. And that's what it always means. So it's based on Leaving Cert, it's based on who applied. Everybody always asks me, and I wish I could tell you, what are the points going to be like this year? And people that work in the CEO tell me, we genuinely don't know until the day the points come out. So it's impossible to know. So yes, that's a really good question, and it's a common one we get. Absolutely accept your first round offer and then see what subsequent rounds will bring. And just on that, say you do get an offer in the second round and you've already accepted your first one, you're actually in a great position there because you can decide, you know what, I've met a few friends who are going to this college. I'm actually going to keep my first round choice. Or you could say, no, I really want to go to this college and do this course. I'm going to accept my second round offer. So you're in a good place there where you have a decision to make.
Yeah, definitely. I actually had moved already to college when I got the second round offer, so I kind of made a decision there and then. I was kind of like, no, okay, I'll stick with it now because I had, moved and met a couple of people and everything. So yeah,
Yeah.
I would kind of echo that advice for sure.
Yeah, that's good to know as well. I think a lot of people might not know that you can accept your second offer and still be offered your first round or your first
Yeah.
preference in the second round. That's right.
Yeah. So another one there as well is, and this is such a common one, and I'll start getting messages from now until the first round offers. I'm going to be offered my third choice, or I have been offered my third choice, but I prefer my fourth now.
Mm,
So when you get offered your third choice, everything from four down is wiped off your CEO list because you've told the CEO, this is my order of preference. This is the way I want to be offered it. And if you've made the mistake of saying, oh, now I prefer 4 to 3, that's just tough. And it's not the CEO being mean. It's just that they've offered that place to somebody else. And that's why they've gotten rid of it. So the system is actually pretty good, the CEO system. A lot of people complain about it, but it's very fair. It's very transparent. The system doesn't care how much your parents earn or if they've donated to the university or your personal statement. If you have the academic criteria for this course, you'll get the course if it's a preference on your list.
Yeah, yeah, very different to the likes of America and and England when you hear about the personal statements and all that.
Yeah.
mm.
Something that I only learned from actually like looking at your recent TikToks and podcasts on the because I'm sure if it's a recent thing, but can you explain what the available places is on the CAO? How does that work?
Yeah, so it's not as big in Ireland for some reason. In the UK, it's called clearing and it's a massive thing. But over here, it's not that big. So basically, the day after CEO round one offers, the available places list will come out. And maybe this is a list of places where college courses have not been filled. And they're essentially re advertising these places. Now, you must have the entry criteria for it, but you actually don't have to have the CEO round one points for it, but you must have the entry. Okay. And what you'll do then is you can put it on your CEO list that day. You can put it, say, I'm going to put it in fourth because I'd prefer it to my fifth choice, but I'd prefer my third choice if I got that. So I'm going to slip it into number 4 there on my CEO list. And then in round 2, you could be offered this available place. But the available place works a bit like CEO round 1. Whoever applies for these places, there'll be an order of merit list. Maybe 10 apply, and they've only 7 places. There's still an order of merit list where they'll take the top 7 points who have the entry requirements for the available place. Now, the interesting thing about available places is if you haven't made a CEO application yet, you can make one at this stage and apply for one of the available places courses. So if you're a parent or student listening now and you haven't applied for the CEO and you're kind of regretting it, 28th of August, you can have a look at available places, open up a CEO account then, and maybe offer something in the second round.
Yeah, we actually had a podcast a couple of weeks ago, well, months ago now, with Fiona Kelly from ATU, and she was talking about uh, that they get a lot of calls after the results come out of people asking them about available places, and kind of like even to get in contact with the university and ask questions about like that at that stage. She encouraged that as well. So I definitely wouldn't. I think that's like great advice not to kind of give up, even if you haven't set up a CEO until that point.
And absolutely, don't forget, universities are really keen to have you. They're really keen to fill these places
Mm.
because they get money, generate money for the more students they have in the courses and the university. So you're worth a lot to them. So absolutely. And Fiona, with her background of working in ATU Donegal, now working across the ATU sphere, knows exactly how important available places are.
Mm.
And this is, I think, I see this question that you get a lot, and I think people might have a bit of a misconception around it. But can someone accept their course if they want to defer their first year of college?
Good question, because the first thing you do is do not accept it. If you're accepting it, it means you're going.
Yeah.
So if you get offered the place, first thing you don't do is hit that accept button. You contact the admissions department of that university or college. You tell them you want to defer. Now, what's interesting is every university and college has their own deferral rules and standards. So some of them might be very flexible about you deferring. Some might be very strict about you deferring, what the reasons are. So they might let you do it if it's health reasons or financial reasons or whatever. But you'll have to double check that on the college page. They'll have a policy on their website and it'll let you know what their rules are for deferrals. But if you contact the admissions department that day, they'll outline to you the steps you must take to defer that course. Then you'll open up your CAO account for 2026. You go in and you put down only that course, and then you're guaranteed that course. So even if the points go up and you didn't have the points, even if the entry criteria goes up and you don't have that entry criteria, you still are guaranteed that place. But if you start messing around putting more courses on your CEO list the following year, you mightn't be guaranteed that place.
I think as well, like, so you touched on it a second ago about being disappointed, maybe getting your third choice, but you'd actually prefer your fourth. Do you have any advice for students who are genuinely disappointed with what they've been offered, even though they've put it down on the CEO at some point, but maybe things have changed since? And I guess kind of attach that question as well for students who are thinking because they're so disappointed they might repeat their leaving cert. Maybe that could kind of feed into it as well. I just wanted to know if you have any kind of thoughts on that thought
So I
process.
wouldn't do anything based on emotion.
Okay.
At this time, you have to think clearly, gather your team in. Now, your team might be your mum and dad, might be your guidance counselor. So your schools have to have the guidance counselor open to you, So you still have access to the guidance counselor and make an informed choice and informed decision on what's best for you. So don't do anything based on emotion. See what's best for you moving forward. Sit down with those people and talk to them. That's the most important advice you can give. And really throughout life is try not to make a decision based on emotion, but try to be cold, calculated, even professional, like you're in a business. What's best for me moving forward? Write down the pros and cons, talk to your parents, talk to your guidance counselor, or whoever you really value their opinion. Sit down with them and see what's best for me moving forward.
Yeah, it is inevitable. Like every year, there's going to be people who are delighted, and there's people who are just going to be disappointed. I mean, that's just life. But could you talk to us a little bit about some of the backdoors into courses? Maybe PLCs and apprenticeships, or just for anyone who like really wants a course and they just don't get it. What are some other options available to them?
Yeah, so like you're saying, there's loads of options. So I would say loads. So you're looking at PLCs as one option. So that's generally a 1 year course. It's actually a better transition year than transition year is because you're transitioning from secondary school to third level. And in fact, you're more likely to graduate from university if you've done a PLC, statistically. So PLCs are brilliant. Can't recommend them enough. I've never met a person who regretted doing a PLC. God, that was a waste of a year. Never met anyone like that. They always say it was great. Really helped them preparing for college. And the only thing about a PLC, if you're reapplying to the CEO, there's no guarantee you're going to get that place. What is a good thing is when you reapply to the CEO, it'll be your Leaving Cert points and your PLC points. So whatever's best, you'll be offered the course based on that. So that's a good thing at least. But PLCs are really good, and you can get into college using a PLC. Now, if you look at tertiary degrees, which are pretty new, tertiary degrees are where you start out in a PLC, but you're guaranteed your progression onto college. All right. So the PLC, you're not guaranteed that progression. With the tertiary degree, you're guaranteed. Tertiary degrees are amazing. They really come on the last number of years. So you could do occupational therapy, you can do media, you can do social work, computer science. There's loads you can do with tertiary degrees. And tertiary degrees are open until the end of September as well. So have a look at nto.ie if you're interested in a tertiary degree. No Leaving Cert points required. will work out cheaper because you have that year in a PLC where you're not paying any fees, and then you pay the contribution fees when you get to college. I mentioned clearing earlier on. That's the UCAS version of available places. That's open now. Now that's a much, much larger version of available places. Huge amount of courses on offer. And you could even stay in Ireland and go to the likes of Ulster University or Queen's or places like that who will have places in clearing. So have a look at clearing and see what you think. There will be courses still available in Europe to apply for as well. As Nessa mentioned, apprenticeships. So we have apprenticeships where you can have a level 8 qualification at the end of it. Like recruitment is a 3-year level 8 qualification as an apprenticeship, and they've really changed the last number of years. You can do them in business, engineering, science. Really, there's a huge broad spectrum on apprenticeships. It's not traditionally we think carpentry, electrician, plumbing, and those are all still there, but there's something for everyone now. If you want to do finance, if you want to do ag, there's everything is there in the apprenticeships as well. So we look, there's private colleges who will accept you if you kind of like if Fiona was saying, ring up and ask, is there a direct entry place? I see you have, say, psychology in Dublin Business School. You could ring up and see, have you a couple of places? And I apply for that as direct entry and see what happens there. So again, if you're not happy with those options, sit down with your guidance counsellor and say, what's next for me? What's open to me? What options do I have?
Oh,
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, it's just you kind of touched on it there, but it's just mad the amount of things you can do as an apprenticeship now. I think, like you said, most people kind of think, I'm not going to do an apprenticeship. It's, I don't want to. Like you kind of think it's work with your hands and stuff, but actually, like there's apprenticeships in insurance now, and like
Yeah.
there's ways of getting into accounting without having to go through the traditional CEO route. So that is great. I do think that's like kind of, I suppose, in your own work as a guidance counselor, and I know you post on TikTok and everything. Do you think that's kind of one of the biggest misconceptions with the CEO? Do people kind of put all of their eggs in the CEO basket?
Yeah, I think, people do apply for the CEO, but they apply and then they have a look and see, look, well, this is my backup option, whatever. But there's actually not a huge, so there's about 60,000 Leaving Certs would sit down and do the exam. But of those, I think between 35, 40,000 might go to college next year. So
Mm,
everyone says, God, the Leaving Cert, everyone's really panicking about the CEO. But the CEO is made up of mature applicants, EU applicants, applicants from the UK, applicants for previous years. Everyone thinks that this massive pressure on Leaving Certs, where statistically that doesn't show that. Um, but yeah, the apprenticeships are amazing. They've changed since 2015. And this is earn as you learn. So you're getting paid as you're doing it. And it is more hands on because you're in work probably 3, 4 days of the week. And then you have one day where you're in college, and you have to think even for yourself, well, what way do I learn best? Will I be best in a lecture hall, or will I be best working alongside someone and seeing how things are done on a day-to-day basis? So there's loads of benefits to the apprenticeship as well. And have a look at apprenticeship.ie. It'll give you all the apprenticeships that are available. It'll actually even show you some companies that are advertising for apprenticeships. There's some brilliant ones, even cybersecurity and IT, that are screaming out for as well. So have a look at all those, really good option too.
Yeah, it's funny. You mentioned cybersecurity there, and that was something I saw on your TikTok recently. That there's these new degrees coming out every single year, new courses that if you're not kind of keeping up to date with the colleges and that they're offering, you mightn't be aware of them, and like your perfect course might be a recent one that you haven't heard of yet. So I was just going to ask you, are there some like newer courses that have come out, say like in the last 2 or 3 years, that you think are really interesting and you think more people should know about them?
Well, I would really think anything with AI at the minute is really big. And we've seen a couple of courses you can do, say, computers and AI in TU Dublin. You can do chemistry and AI in DCU. So these are all kind of relatively new the last couple of years. And then Ireland is making a great effort for health science courses, which are really popular. So RCSI, this year will be their first year for dentistry. That would be a big one. Even students 2026, there's more pharmacy courses. Medicine is coming down to UL. There's going to be more veterinary medicine courses in 2026 as well. So even though they're kind of on trend at the minute, you do have to be interested and passionate about it. And the reason I say AI, I love AI. I think it's amazing. I use it like daily for different tasks, and I would be interested in it. But then I went to college and studied history, and I can even still see the benefits of a history degree with the skills you learned, that you're able to research, you're able to present, you're able, um, to write at length in your own words without having to go to ChatGPT. So there's loads of skills, critical thinking, problem solving, even within a history degree, that employers are looking for. So although there's newer, sexier, for the lack of a better adjective, degrees out there, it is important that you do what you're passionate about. Over 50% of jobs advertised now that ask you to have a degree don't really care what your degree is in. They just want you to have a level 8 degree, and then we'll train you up. But we'll know you have those skills from doing your level 8 degree. And then we'll train you up in the area you want to do. So just getting that degree, maybe first of all, make sure you're passionate about it. And then there's loads of graduate opportunities once you complete that degree.
This probably isn't something I should mention in the podcast, and maybe we'll cut it out afterwards. But like for every job that I've ever had, I have never been asked for proof of my degree.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Like it's just there on my CV, and they have to
Yeah.
take my. I just assume that they take my word for it.
Well, you know what? When you're a teacher, you have to send your transcripts and your degree certificate, photocopy of them all, into the teaching council. So maybe they're a bit stricter.
A bit stricter there, yeah. Maybe they don't care
Yeah.
as much in the marketing realm.
Yeah, us at Studyclix, I mean, we're all frauds, maybe secretly telling people to study for the Leaving Certs. But yeah, I think as well, I see that on everything. They look for like a level 8 degree. You kind of get told it in college that even just having a level 8 degree, or in some cases, depending on the job, a level 7 degree. I think it kind of just shows commitment, that you kind of like stuck at a course for 4 years or 3 years, and you like definitely develop some skills doing it,
Exactly. Exactly. That's exactly
rather
it.
than the
You
actual
showed up
content
somewhere
of
for
it.
4 years, that you committed to the place. And that's what a job wants to do. That you can show up here every day, you can do tasks, you can commit to it, you can work as part of a team. And that's exactly what a level 8 degree shows you as well.
Yeah, I think as well, you had said it before, kind of don't act with your emotions kind of when you're, deciding like, oh no, I'm going back, I'm gonna repeat, or I'm gonna reject that offer. I'm gonna, I think as well it should be like you should take into account that if you get a course that it might not be the most direct route to your career, but you think you'd still enjoy the course, you'd enjoy the 3 or 4 years in college, do it anyway, because like it can be used as a stepping stone. Like you said, you started off studying history. Like, a lot of people who study arts end up going into teaching, or like completely pivoting out of it. Like once you have a degree of any kind, it's much easier to get a master's degree where you could
Yeah.
actually specialize in something specifically that you maybe wouldn't have been ready for when you were fresh out of school, age 18, but now you are at 23 and you have the kind of college experience under your belt. So yeah, I think that was great
Well,
advice.
just even some examples there. Like if you want to do, say, a master's in primary school teaching, you have to have a level 8 degree. They're not really asking you what the level 8 degree is. If you want to do a graduate entry medicine, you just have to have a level 8 degree. I actually know someone who did a degree in photography and ended up doing graduate entry medicine. So there's loads of different opportunities. You look at occupational therapy, speech and language, and physiotherapy, all down in UL. You can do it with any degree as long as you sit part of the HPA, or most of the HPA.
Yeah.
So there's loads of opportunities. The door is never shut on anything. And this is only the start of lifelong learning. Whatever you decide to do, whether it's a PLC, an apprenticeship, going to college, it's only the very start. When I finished my degree, I thought that was it. And I've since done 3 more masters on top of it. And you'll just continually want to develop yourself. You'll want to get better at your job. Um, and just continuing to do that will help you progress in your career. And you guys have seen the changes the last number of years due to AI and technology. You have to keep updating. If you
Mm.
were a doctor that graduated in 1975 and you're still using the same methods that they were doing in 1975, they'd look at you bizarrely because they're so outdated. Like doctors have to continue to professionally develop, teachers have to continue to professionally develop, and every career is like that. So this is only the very start. So don't. I always say to my students, let's just look at the next step. Forget what's
Mm.
way down the line. What's the very next step?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you really do never stop learning, I guess, in a lot of the professions anyway. So you might as well get in at whatever rung you can get in on in the first place. I suppose, do you have any kind of like final tips? I mean, a lot of people, I'd imagine, that are listening to this podcast are listening to it kind of panicking, maybe rocking themselves to sleep the night before the results. Do you kind of have any final tips for them I suppose, in terms of their nerves, and then also with what to do with whatever they're faced with tomorrow morning or whenever they're listening to this.
Yeah, look, there's not much you can do about the nerves. Sometimes it's excitement, it's anticipation. Can't wait to see what I got. Nerves are only a bad thing if they overwhelm you and you stop functioning properly. But I never have an issue with nerves going into an exam or nerves before you get results because that's a good thing. I think that's okay. It's only when that gets too overwhelming that you're not functioning properly on a day-to-day basis. That's where so nerves are perfectly normal. Um, but I know people personally who haven't done well in the Leaving Cert that have been of massive success in their careers. I know some people who did really well in the Leaving Cert, found the world of work very stressful, and ended up taking jobs that were very less stressful. A friend of mine ended up getting a master's, an incredible career, couldn't really deal with it that well, ended up running a coffee shop, and he's the happiest man in Ireland.
Oh,
So, you know, the Leaving Cert is one thing. I actually couldn't even tell you what I got in my Leaving Cert. I can tell you what I got in my degree and my master's. But as you were saying before, Luke, the Leaving Cert is just that's so far away that it doesn't really matter. It's hard to explain that to sixth years who are sitting the exam. It doesn't really matter long term. I know for them, the bubble that they're in, it absolutely matters. The only thing in the world. And you guys know yourselves from, people that you've met, from your own experiences, that there's a lot bigger fish to fry than the Leaving Cert. Um, so just keep that in mind. I know some of the most amazing entrepreneurs who don't have any qualifications, be that in college or PLCs, but they had a drive and a work ethic that was unbelievable compared to other people I knew. So don't worry too much. It doesn't how well you do in Leaving Cert doesn't guarantee success in any walk of life, um, and that's if you're driven by success. I know people who they say, well, it's time or money. A career rarely gives you both. Some people really value time. Maybe they're teachers. They value time off and time with friends and family. Some people are really driven by money and drive for that work and working so much. So it really depends on what your driving factor is as well. So yeah, it's easy for me to say, middle aged man, say don't worry too much about the Leaving Cert. But from my experience, it is the truth as well.
Yeah, and there's a
yeah.
reason everybody says that the kind of it's not to be on an end all because it isn't. And I think as well, one piece of advice I'd give is regardless of how the results go, still follow through with any plans you have to go out, get dressed up, kind of forget about it. It is at the end of the day also the final chapter in like, your leaving cert and secondary school experience. So I wouldn't let getting upset about results kind of get in the way of having a good night out with your
And,
friends.
and you have to be careful around friends too, because not everybody wants to share
Mm,
how they did, whether it's good or bad.
Mm,
Some people might have done really well and they're embarrassed by talking, and some people might have done bad. So just say, look, hope you did well. Let's go, like you said, Luke, let's go out and have a pint,
yeah.
celebrate regardless. It's still a great achievement to overcome that. It's a rite
yeah.
of passage almost in Ireland. And yes, absolutely, go out and have a pint and celebrate. Just be careful among friends that maybe some might want to chat about it, maybe some don't. And let people know your feelings too. Look, I'm happy to go out and celebrate, but I just don't want to talk about leaving cert. And then that's
Yeah.
all you have to say.
Yeah, and I would say to anyone who is feeling disappointed, and I like it happens every time. It's not as prevalent now because Twitter is not as big a thing as it was before, but it was always around like CAO and results day. You would always find that because people do want to share their story if they were disappointed years ago, and they're like, "Oh, it just like ended up being a blessing in disguise," like or like. I have my own business now and I've never been happier, but I was so disappointed. And like on the day when you were like that, the disappointment is so raw like those stories, you hear them and you can't like
Yeah.
you can't imagine it for yourself because all you've ever known is school and exams and you feel like this work has all come to this. So like you're absolutely allowed to be disappointed. Like
No, and even take that day, Nessa. Take 2
mm,
days if you want. But at some stage you have to, okay, it's time to make a decision. And like I
yeah.
said previous, not a decision based on emotion. Let's make this decision. And like I said, put your team around you. I call it a team. It is a team, and weigh up the pros and cons and make an informed choice, not a choice based on emotion. That's a big thing. You kind of have to be almost cruel on yourself to do that, right? Time to snap out of it. Now's
Yeah.
the time to make a decision.
Yeah. Sage advice. Donnchadh, thank you so much. You are fantastic. You're like a fountain of wisdom. So where can the people find you if they want to hear more advice on the CAO or finding college course and all that?
Well, firstly, thank you so much for having me on the podcast,
Not at
Nessa.
all.
It's I always enjoy coming on the Studyclix podcast. And Luke, as I said to you earlier, Luke is forever on my TikTok when I open it up. He's the first person I always see when I'm on it. And it was lovely to chat to you, Luke. But
Thank you
you
very
can
much.
find me on Leaving Cert Guidance on Instagram and TikTok. And again, if you have any questions or you're unsure about where you're going, you can pop me a DM and I'll do my best to get back to you.
Perfect. Donnchadh, thank you so much. I really hope this podcast was helpful to anyone listening to it. Best of luck if you're listening to this now and you're expecting Leaving Cert Results, or you're waiting CAO offers, or you've gotten all this, or hopefully that we have answered some of your burning questions. But yeah, like Donnchadh said, you can always drop us a line as well to Studyclix. We're not experts on the CAO, but any issues you have, you can chat to us through our social media platforms or on the customer support on our website. And we'd encourage you to follow us. We're on those platforms as well, and hit follow on this podcast wherever you're listening, so you'll be the first to hear about new episodes. Once again, Donnchadh, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll catch you on the next podcast. Bye, guys.
Bye.